Let's talk about downfall for a moment. Not the slow, quiet kind that creeps up on a person over time, but the kind that's loud, messy, public, and impossible to escape. The kind of downfall that plays out in front of thousands of eyes, where every misstep becomes a headline, every rant becomes a meme, and every emotional outburst becomes another chapter in a story that should have never gone this far. And at the center of this unraveling, we find Arionne, a name that once hovered on the edges of reality TV fame, but now sits smack in the middle of controversy, disappointment, and a reputation that seems to be in freefall. Because here's the truth, Arionne didn't just get exposed by the world. She exposed herself. Piece by piece. Post by post. Interview by interview. And honey, the wreckage is not pretty. For years, fans wondered if she would ever get her moment on Love and Marriage, Huntsville. She was woven into the storyline from day one, living proof of a scandal that tore through the Holt household like a tornado. But instead of playing her cards with finesse, instead of understanding how the game works, instead of recognizing that reality TV rewards discipline as much as drama, Arionne chose another path, the path of chaos, defiance, impulse, and self-sabotage. And the network took notes. So did the cast. So did the fans watching from home. What unfolded next was a slow-motion career collapse that even her loudest supporters couldn't ignore. Because while some people are built for the spotlight, others crumble under its heat, and Arionne, despite all her confidence, showed the world exactly which side she fell on. But to understand how things got this bad, we have to go back. Not just to the affair. Not just to the late-night calls or the whispered rumors or the "I didn't know he was married" stories that changed shape with every new interview. We have to go back to the moment Arionne realized that the scandal had given her a platform and that she could either turn it into redemption or destruction. And the choice she made, well, we're living with the results. Because here's the twist the internet didn't expect: Arionne wasn't pushed out of the spotlight by the network. She talked herself out of it. She dragged herself out of it. She burned every bridge, then blamed the ashes on everybody else. And what nobody expected was just how far she would go to alienate the very people who could have helped her rebuild. The producers. The cast. The audience. Even Martel, the man who dragged her into this mess, eventually stepped back. And that's when the unraveling truly began. See, back when the scandal first broke, some viewers actually felt a hint of sympathy. She was young. She was caught up in a situation bigger than she could handle. Plenty of people believed she had been misled, manipulated, strung along by a man who had a lot to lose and no problem sacrificing someone else's peace for his own convenience. But sympathy has an expiration date. And Arionne raced past it like it was a stop sign. Because instead of stepping back, breathing, and choosing maturity, she jumped online at every opportunity. Instagram lives at 1 a.m., rants aimed at Melody, comments shading Martel, cryptic posts that stirred the pot, and dramatic statements that made fans wonder if she was trying to audition for the show or blow it up from the sidelines. It became a pattern, one that the network could not ignore. Inside the producer's room, the question wasn't should we give Arionne a chance? It was, is she safe for the brand? And the answer became clearer every time she opened her mouth. While other reality stars crafted stories of growth or redemption, she embraced volatility. While cast members handled conflict with at least some level of restraint, she pushed every button she could find. And while Melody walked through heartbreak with grace, Arionne attacked, mocked, and dismissed the very woman whose life had been torn apart. Fans noticed. The cast noticed. The network definitely noticed. And soon, the whispers turned into a unified message: Arionne was not someone production could trust. Not with storylines. Not with cast dynamics. Not with the public image of the show. Because what she brought wasn't just drama, it was unpredictability. Producers hate unpredictability. Sponsors hate unpredictability. Networks absolutely refuse to reward unpredictability. And this is where her downfall sharpened. When a person becomes known not for growth, not for accountability, not even for entertainment, but for chaos, they become a liability. And Arionne crossed that line so many times the line practically disappeared. She posted private phone calls. She dragged Martel publicly, then defended him the same week. She taunted Melody. She lashed out at fans. She blamed the network for not giving her a platform, even though she had made that platform radioactive. Here's the thing about reality TV. Even the villains have to be likable. They need charm, humor, vulnerability. A moment of softness that makes an audience root for them even when they're wrong. But Arionne seemed allergic to vulnerability. Every opportunity to show humility became another performance of pride. Every moment where she could have apologized became another moment where she doubled down. And in the world of reality TV, doubling down is either golden or catastrophic. For Arionne, it was catastrophic. Martel, meanwhile, attempted to reframe his image. He tried to convince the world he was ready to do better, be better, show up differently. Whether the audience believed him or not, he at least attempted to play the game. But every time Arionne jumped online, she reopened old wounds and exposed old secrets. And the more she talked, the more his image crumbled, which meant the network saw her as a threat not just to herself, but to an entire storyline they depended on. This is where things turned cold. Martel stopped defending her publicly. He stopped engaging in her rants. He stopped feeding the narrative she built. And without his connection, Arionne was no longer a supporting piece of the story, she was just a reminder of the scandal everyone else was trying to move past. And the network made their decision. Their silence was louder than any official statement. Their refusal to acknowledge her spoke volumes. Their choice to keep her out wasn't personal, it was business. Because let's be honest, love and marriage, Huntsville is built on Black excellence, business, family growth, and emotional healing. Is it messy? Yes. Dramatic? Absolutely. But it is not meant to glamorize destruction. It is not meant to reward the breakup of families. And producers knew that putting Arionne on screen would send a message they didn't want associated with the show, that chaos equals opportunity. And if there's one thing networks hate more than bad press, it's bad messaging. So Arionne remained a ghost in the storyline, mentioned, implicated, referenced, but never invited. And instead of taking that as a sign to regroup, she took it as a personal attack. She launched more rants, more accusations, more emotional outbursts that only pushed her reputation deeper into the ground. Fans weren't buying it anymore. The sympathy was gone, the tide had shifted. People watched her meltdown after meltdown and saw not a woman mistreated by production, but a woman sabotaging herself each time she touched her phone. And that's when the comments began. She ruined her own image. She needs real help. She keeps exposing herself. She can't stay off social media long enough to rebuild. Even those who once defended her grew tired. The narrative had shifted from scandal to self-destruction, and the more she fought to control the story, the more she lost control. This is the tragedy of Arionne Curry, not that she was denied a place on the show, but that she had every opportunity to rise from the chaos, take accountability, apologize, rebrand, and step into a new chapter. But she chose chaos instead of clarity. Anger instead of reflection. Exposure instead of healing. And now the consequences have caught up to her. Her reputation is in shambles. Her relationship with Martel is fractured. Her public image is synonymous with drama, not growth. And the network has made their stance clear. She will not be joining the cast. She will not be given a redemption arc. She will not be stepping into the spotlight she once thought she deserved. Because at the end of the day, charisma wins. Accountability wins. Growth wins. And Arionne, despite being at the center of one of the most explosive scandals on reality TV, never showed the traits needed to turn that chaos into opportunity. People don't hate her. They're exhausted by her. And exhaustion is the death of public interest. Maybe one day she'll step back, look at the destruction around her, and realize she was holding the match all along. Maybe she'll find the humility she never showed. Maybe she'll evolve into someone who can turn her story into something powerful, something meaningful, something worth watching for the right reasons. But today? Today the door is closed. The network has moved on. The cast has moved on. The fans have moved on. And Arionne is left with the hardest truth of all. Her career didn't end because someone sabotaged her. It ended because she exposed herself.